Welcome back, everyone. This is Austin Revel here at 2FC Tactical, and we're going to talk a little bit about something that isn't necessarily at the forefront of everyone's mind federally, but we should make it that way. It's not something that hasn't been covered before. A lot of people have talked about this, and what am I talking about? I'm talking about national reciprocity, and I'm going to reference a specific case and why this is so important. Now, first off, please like, comment, subscribe. Your comments, we try to read all of them. We try to get back to you. Likes show YouTube specifically that you like this content and you want more. It also tells us that you're listening to us. We really appreciate those of you that have liked and subscribed to our channel. It is free. It's very easy. We want to hit 25,000 subscribers by June. Help us get there. Please, please, please. Share these videos with a friend. Share the channel. Help this channel grow. If you don't mind to, please go over the Rumble and also follow us there. We've had issues with YouTube strikes. We don't know why, hence why we've had a little bit of an absence from YouTube lately. They don't tell us what we did wrong. They just say we violate some obscure policy. We go back and we look and we're like, I don't see anything here that violates the policy. Unfortunately, that's the way it works. They are the arbiters, and then when you do the appeals, you automatically lose. Nothing new to the gun tuber world. Unfortunately, we fall victim to that as well. So if you don't mind going over the Rumble, hitting that follow, because we post everything simultaneously to both. So all of our videos go up. That way there's always dexterity. There's a backup plan. So if there's something you'd like to see that YouTube doesn't allow or took down, we'll put it over on Rumble. And if this is a channel that you would like to support, we do have a Patreon at 2IBST. If you'd like to subscribe and help this channel out, we greatly appreciate you. We don't charge for our content, and we never will. It's simply there to, if you'd like to give us some support financially. We really appreciate that. There's some things that we'd like to add, but it does all cost money. And we should do a little plug here. We have a new channel sponsor, Patriot Mobile. Huge shout out to them. I've been a member of theirs for a long time. I have the Up phone actually right here, the unplugged phone from that Sean Ryan talks about a lot. Moved over to Patriot Mobile a little over a year ago. Could not be happier. You guys should check them out. Patriot Mobile is an excellent supporter of the channel and of our rights. They were at SHOT Show, and they have been at SHOT Show for several years. The fact that they're there supporting you and me is worth their plans. And by the way, they have coverage equal to the big boys because they're using the same towers. And my bill went down when I moved over to them from Verizon. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Now, when we dive into today's video, I want you to know that we did cover this on our news section on our website. So please check out our website and our news section, because we're constantly adding stories about things that are going on in the firearm world. Also firearm reviews of stuff that we saw maybe at SHOT Show, or we've had the opportunity to shoot, or our historical firearms that we do on our From the Vault series, and so much more. There's so much news. We try to have it coming to you every single day on our news section. And today's story is about an NFL player. So we just had the Super Bowl, obviously. Congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks on winning that. And Sam Darnold, someone who was a cast-off for the Minnesota Vikings and got the last laugh. So congratulations to him and his story. But Rasheed Walker is who we're talking about today. He's a offensive lineman for the Green Bay Packers. If you're in Minnesota, half of you just cringed, the other half of you cheered. I understand that. We're talking about what happened to him, though. He was drafted out of Penn State in 2021 and has been a pretty successful player for the Green Bay, despite the fact he was a 7th-round draft pick. This is a case where he did everything right. He had the unfortunate reality of traveling to LaGuardia, New York. So he took a pistol. He checked it with TSA when he flew, just like he was supposed to. It was unloaded in a locked case with a lock that was not TSA approved. He went to the ticket counter, in this case Delta, checked it in, and declared it. Everything's okay there. Problem was he was going to New York. That pistol and that magazine was not legal in that state, and they have now arrested and charged him. Of course, he's out on bail, but he faces a possible felony charge for the rest of his life, which, by the way, would preclude him from owning firearms, for doing everything right, exercising his constitutional right, traveling freely in the United States as the Constitution allows, and unfortunately, it is costing him. The reality is there's tens of thousands of firearm laws in the United States. You and I are expected to obey, know, and follow each and every single one of them everywhere we go at all times. This is impossible for us to do. And this is my biggest issue in the United States. Marriage licenses, driver's licenses are recognized across the nation. Business licenses are recognized across the nation. As to it by C, when we fill out our tax ID forms with suppliers in other states, they accept that. Our constitutionally protected right to carry a firearm is not. We go through all of the background checks. We go through the training courses. We get our permit to carry card here in the state of Minnesota, for instance. I know there's constitutional carry states, but you can also get cards in those states as well. We do all of that, and we still can get in trouble. This is not right. I think we all can agree on it. This guy had not done anything wrong in his life when it came to firearms until this moment. And his only thing that he did wrong was that he traveled to a state that didn't want him there. Not with his firearm, anyway. And this is something we need to fix. It is long past time the National Reciprocity Act gets passed. There is some issues with the bill. I'm not going to sit here and say that the bill is perfect. So that the first step is getting our constitutionally protected rights to carry a firearm across state lines guaranteed nationally. We need to get that fixed now. We are seeing cases out of Massachusetts, for instance, that are dealing with this, and my hope is at minimum the Supreme Court will take this up soon, but this needs to get passed. This shouldn't even be controversial. There should be enough states out there that understand that constitutionally protected rights to carry a firearm exist across state lines. Bruin established the fact that you and I get to carry a firearm for self-defense. Therefore, it must be recognized in all 50 states because the 14th Amendment applies. It's that simple. Now, the second piece to this bill, though, we do need to fix, which is the rules of self-defense. Now, the rules of self-defense are not universal in the United States. We have some castle doctrine states, some stand your ground states, some duty to retreat states. So let's take Minnesota, for instance. We are not a true castle doctrine state. We don't have a duty to retreat inside our home, but we also don't have the right to defend private property. Whereas in South Dakota, it's a true castle doctrine state. You get to defend private property. Now, here in Minnesota, we are not a stand your ground state outside the home. It means we have to retreat or attempt to get out of the situation before we can defend ourselves here in the state of Minnesota. There's a lot of states like that. Now, I personally think these are two bad laws. Why? First off, your property is your property. No one else is entitled to it. Therefore, you get to defend it. This isn't necessarily something controversial or even new. This goes back to the 1300s in English common law that the castle doctrine literally references, which is you get to defend your castle from invaders. You get to defend your property from invaders or attackers. Pretty simple, right? When it comes to outside the home, duty to retreat really doesn't sit well with me, I'll admit. And the reason why is it puts all the pressure on us, the defendant, and not any on the aggressor. So the person doing something illegal has all the freedom to do the illegal things, and you and I have to react to them. As opposed to, I am going about my normal business, you decide to attack me, that is on you, not on me. It flips that completely around where everything's on me and nothing's on you until the last moment. And we all know that self-defense actions often take seconds to make decisions where courts pick them apart over years, and then you and I suffer because of that. So this is something that I don't like. We need national rules when it comes to self-defense. We need national rules that state that, yes, you get to protect private property, and yes, you get to stand your ground, and all states must follow. That's simple. When you and I travel to California, when you and I travel to Montana, when you and I travel to Kansas, doesn't matter. We should know what we're legally allowed to do. It's impossible to do that now because of the way the laws are. It's so patchwork across the United States. And this is something that I'm super passionate about. If there's one thing here at 2FIC I really, really spend a lot of time on is firearm law and constitutionally applied gun laws. And I'm going to try to explain what that means. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not here pretending I'm a lawyer. I do study this stuff pretty heavily, though. The Bill of Rights is spoken to the federal government specifically. Why do I know that? Well, it's in the U.S. Constitution, which is a federal document. The 14th Amendment mandates those same Bill of Rights to the states, meaning obviously specifically talking about slavery when this was passed, that the 13th Amendment was ratified. You in Alabama, I'm just going to use my home state for as an example, can't ignore the 13th Amendment. Those rights still apply to the citizens of Alabama. So you don't get to just make them slaves because you decide, hey, I'm not going to honor the 13th Amendment. And this is where the Second Amendment is so bastardized by states. Because if we just substitute the Second Amendment for literally any other amendment in the Bill of Rights, let's just say the women's right to vote. Let's say Texas decides, you know what? We don't think women should vote. So we're just going to ignore that. And we're not going to allow women to vote in elections moving forward. There would be huge issues with that. The Supreme Court would definitely have things to say about that. And the federal government would be in its rights to go and enforce the voting rights of women on the state of Texas, which is what John F. Kennedy did. He was doing 14th Amendment protections during the 60s, during the Civil Rights Movement, when he sent National Guard members to Alabama. Rightfully so. Those African-American rights were being violated by the state, by the Democratic Party specifically, and I should mention, and therefore order needed to be put back in control. He used it. That is something that, again, he was lawfully allowed to do. This is something that we have seen the Trump administration do at times. We're seeing them argue against the Virginia assault weapons ban. We're seeing them go after magazine bans in Washington, D.C. We're seeing them go after the U.S. Virgin Islands and a few others. But constitutionally protected rights should be protected, period. The federal government, that is their job, is to make sure you and I are not infringed upon. So that's why the Second Amendment is it's so infuriating to watch these states choose to just say, the Second Amendment doesn't apply here in California. We don't believe in it, therefore we should be able to do whatever we want. At least Gavin Newsom sort of understood that he couldn't do that, and I'm saying sort of because he doesn't act that way and continues to help pass laws that are unconstitutional out there. But he did propose a 28th Amendment to the Constitution to basically strip the Second Amendment out of it, because he understood that there was limitations on what they could do. And it isn't about gun death or violence. It's about stripping the right for me and you to defend oneself, specifically from a tyrannical government, because if we can't defend ourselves, they can do whatever they want. We don't have to look very far to know that this is true. Look what's going on in, say, England, where people are getting put in jail for just posting pictures on Instagram or saying something online. We're seeing this in Canada, where people are going to prison for saying things that are true, like, on gender, let's say, boys can't be girls. We're seeing this. And this is not a political channel. This is about the Second Amendment. And we need to start holding the Second Amendment nationally. This is a long explanation to say that there should be no state gun laws. The Second Amendment is clear, it's to the federal government. The 14th Amendment is even clearer, that the states have to recognize the Bill of Rights, including First, Second Amendments, and on. Therefore, there should be no state gun laws. Any gun laws, if there were to be any, should be federal, and federal only. I also believe if there's going to be a permit to carry, that should be federal. It shouldn't be state issued, because, again, it's a federal law. It's a federal protection, I should say. It's not a law, it's a protection. So national reciprocity is something that must be passed. Rasheed Walker is in trouble for no reason. He didn't harm anyone. He wasn't even attempting to harm anyone. He was just traveling, which you and I do all the time, and that should be legal. He was traveling within the United States. We don't have any control when it goes to other states and their customs and laws. We must respect those even if they are wrong, because we are a guest in that country. But when you're traveling state to state, it's all the same country. We all have the same rights. We all have the same freedoms, and it must be treated as such. And it is time to pass the National Reciprocity Act now. It's also time that we mandate federal defense standards. Clear laws from the federal government the states cannot supersede. this is universal across the board. Again, I'm going to put the congressional hotline down below. Call the switchboard, tell them where you live, and ask for your congressperson, whoever that may be. I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican. Blow it up. Say, we need to pass this. You know, when I read stories like this and I write about these things, it is so frustrating because this could happen to anybody. And you know what? Mr. Walker has worked very hard to get to where he is in life. And I'm so glad he's pursuing his dream of playing in the National Football League. That could be in jeopardy because of this, by the way. This is going to cost him a lot of money when it shouldn't. And there is no excuse for him to be in trouble when he did nothing wrong. Let's be real. He did nothing wrong. This is an unconstitutional law that New York is enforcing, and we need to stand up and say no more. So again, call that tip line, and please keep coming back. We're gonna have more updates. I can't wait to get into the Hawaii Supreme Court vampire rule. That'll be one of our next videos. Very excited about that because I think there's going to be a win in the Supreme Court here for us soon, hopefully, probably this summer realistically, but we'll have a video on that. Now that we're back, we got a lot that's pent up that's going to be coming out. Can't wait to bring it to you. Again, like, comment, subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel, it's free to hit the subscribe button. Go over the Rumble, hit the like. That's also free. If you want to kick us a little something, you can go to our Patreon, 2IBST, and again, help us out. Everything, we just thank you guys. We thank you for tuning in. We'll see you then.